Yo, Jocko. This is a message of Jocko Willink. I was watching your show today, and you made some important points that are worth addressing. You're going where no man has gone before. I like it. But point, counterpoint. So you seem like the kind of guy who is not afraid of having a two-way conversation and leaving no stone unturned. So I'm hoping we can have a dialogue here, and maybe in person soon. The show today was about what's also in these books here, the Bible and this book by Lieutenant Dave Grossman, Stop Teaching Our Kids to Kill. So you said in your podcast it was all about a book that you read which was asserting that man's inner nature, meaning the male of the species, is to enjoy war. And so I wanted to have a discussion about that. You have a lot of experience in this field, and I'm eager to learn from you. So let's get started.
Let's get into it. Starts off. Men may dream that they do not love war, but nature loves struggle and death. That's where we're going out of the gate. Now, again, as you and I talked about a little bit before we hit record, and you pushed back a little bit against this concept, and I just threw at you like, why are there so many movies about war? Books about war, movies about war, videos about war. It's war all over the place. So why is that? You know, if people don't, I hate to use the word love, but if there's not some deep part of a person's brain that doesn't want to watch war, why does 20 war movies come out a year? And by the way, it's not just historical war, it's aliens war, it's all kinds of war, mafia war, gang war, it's just war.
Infinity War?
What's that?
I think it's one of the Avengers.
Oh, the Avengers, check.
Okay, interesting idea. So, well, what we're enjoying is entertainment. Entertainment. The movies that are made to make war entertaining. We're not getting a front row seat to the first day of the war against Iran, where Trump had a big screen TV and he pushed the button and rocket shot down and destroyed a school of girls, and over 100 I read little girls got blown up, and they got a satellite view of that. So we can only presume that Trump and his cabinet were sitting around on day one and they said go, or he might even push the button. And for them, it's apparently entertaining. So they enjoy front row seat. And I'm going to try to talk about it. I now understand exactly why. But for the average American, we're not seeing the reality of war. The news, I haven't seen one video or picture of suffering people over in Ukraine or Iran or Palestine or Israel, except for just, dramatic, exciting footage of, like a fireworks show of rockets going off. So we're not seeing the reality of war at all. Now, you experienced the reality of war right up close. I don't know if you're going to say that you enjoyed it. You were there because you made a decision from, back in the United States without really knowing what you were getting into. And then whether or not they enjoy it, well, most of the veterans that come back from war, a lot of them we don't hear from, but the ones we hear from, they are suffering because of what they saw and what they participated in. They're suffering a great deal. I'm going to a meeting on Mondays here in Austin with a group of veterans, maybe 20 veterans, and a lot of them are looking for solutions because they're very depressed about what they experienced. So they experienced the reality of war, like you. So your video, you're commenting it on it. You're making your comments from a detached perspective, and you're not really getting into your deep feelings about it. You're kind of doing a commentary, which there's nothing wrong with that. You're devil's advocate, you might call it. You're agreeing with the author, but you're saying things that you don't really usually say. So I'm wondering what your true feelings are about war. So, but I should have started with thank you for your service, and to all the veterans that watch your channel, and anybody who might see this, thank you for your service to our country. It's a sacrifice, and I really appreciate it. But as you understand, sometimes our leaders get into wars that are not just. And I still appreciate the veterans and the military people who are there, but sometimes they're being misused for something which is unjust. And they all took a constitution to the United States, and so that's part of being in the military, is having the courage to say to our leaders, hold on a second, I don't want to do this. This is not right. So this is something we don't talk about much, but all the military people, they really, we ought to challenge them to question. The United States military isn't about people being a bunch of unfeeling robots who just do exactly what their leaders say. It's about the American way is about standing up for what's right. And I'm sure you agree. So it says right in your book that you wrote, it says, the code: I will take care of my physical health by exercising, eating properly, and getting the rest I need to recover and rebuild. I will develop myself mentally by reading, writing, drawing, building, creating, and engaging in other activities that sharpen and expand my mind. I will control my emotions and not allow my emotions to negatively impact my decisions. I will be humble and not allow my ego to negatively impact my decisions. I will put others before myself. I will help other people and protect those who cannot protect themselves. So that's not Trump. He ordered a strike on a girls' school, and a bunch of girls got killed on day one. That's an atrocity, and that's a crime against humanity. I will take care of my friends and family and treat other people with respect. And that's what you do. Your show is about empowering people, inspiring them to be a better person, inspiring them to snap out of their depression, heal. That's your mission. So it's obvious. I will be ready to protect my friends and family. I will train and prepare to defend myself and others. So I'm sure that applies to the whole world. So this thing that's going on that our leaders create is called tribalism. Americans take care of ourselves. We can kill others, in Iran, and that's okay because they're our enemy. Enemy, enemy, enemy. So our leaders have been brainwashing us to see the Iranian people as enemies, but reality is that most of them are just innocent, peaceful people. The leaders apparently are torturing some people that are, in opposition to them, which is a crime against humanity. I'm in agreement with that, but does it really make sense to kill the leaders and then kill hundreds of thousands of average citizens, men, women, and children? I don't think so. My background is that I traced my family name, the Bennetts, all the way back to 1730, William Bennett was 12 years old when he served in the Army. He may have just been carrying supplies. I'm not exactly sure. But 100 years before that, there was 3 Bennett brothers who came here as part of the Virginia Company under the King James. King James funded it, and they created the Virginia Company, which set up a plantation, a bunch of plantations in Virginia. And the Bennetts came over here. One of them was the comptroller for the king for the Virginia Company. And they were Puritans, and they were getting persecuted by the king in England because they were not bowing down to his absurd rules. And they were questioning them, and they were saying, God is our leader, and God is above the king. And they didn't like that. The king didn't like that. So after years of persecution, they decided to come to America, and they had a fleet of ships. They were wealthy. And when they got here, they convinced hundreds of people to come to America, and they set up the Bennett plantation. The whole story is on Wikipedia. But after they got here, within a few months, the Native Americans attacked and killed maybe a few hundred of the settlers, including over 50 from their plantation, men, women, and children. Slaughtered them. So this was one of the first genocides, but before that, the King of England, King James, his military forces, stirred up a lot of trouble. They committed their own attacks on the natives, killing maybe dozens. I haven't gotten all the details, maybe hundreds. They kidnapped the chief's daughter, Pocahontas, and they stirred up a lot of resentments. So that's what our leaders often do. They create conflict between countries and between peoples and tribalism, and then they sit back in their palaces and enjoy the show. So this cycle has been going on for hundreds, thousands of years. Learning about my history recently, my family history, I don't know if the 3 Bennett brothers, how they're connected to my own family line, but I'm trying to look into that. There may be a direct connection. Most likely there is. Just reading about this made me a little bit more sensitive to this. As far as entertainment, why do we enjoy it? Well, part of it is for the adrenaline. Adrenaline feels, good, and it's an entertaining movies. But the movies about war, they usually don't convey and communicate the reality. If they did, people would walk out in disgust, because it's quite disturbing when you see humans getting blown apart right in front of you. And I'm sure if you really get in touch with your feelings, I believe that you're going to really express that it was unpleasant. Maybe you've glossed it over somewhat. I'm not sure. But I think you're a truth teller. You're a truth seeker. I think if you really look back and really express the way you felt about it, it was a horrific experience which you wouldn't wish on anybody. So this code that you have is exactly the code which is in the Bible. You haven't really expressed much about your own religious beliefs. But if you haven't really read this Bible much, I met the last living chaplain who landed on Normandy Beach on D-Day, Chaplain George Russell Barber, and he gave me this, signed it in 2000. He gave me the King James Version, which was translated by King James people, and also the New International Version. So I read them very thoroughly, and I discovered there's a lot of value in here. The philosophy is the same as yours. So you are Christian in spirit. You live exactly the way Jesus told us to live. You're putting out positive information that can help people. And that's what it says that we're supposed to do. So one of the scribes came, and having heard them reasoning together, he asked, "Which is the first commandment of all?" And Jesus answered him, "The first of all the commandments is, 'Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment.'" Now that's a little hard to do because we don't see God. So for some people that might be a little hard to interpret. But for me, it just means that I'm reading this and I'm taking it seriously, and I'm acting on it, and I'm trying to share it with other people to wake them up to God's plan for the whole world. And that's number 2. And the second is, namely this, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these." So that's exactly what you're saying. Stand up for people who can't defend themselves. And our leaders who say they're Christian, Trump actually said he was not Christian on camera, but he's talking like he's Christian, and he's reading from the Bible on occasion. He didn't put his hand on the Bible when he was sworn in, which was a first. Maybe he was afraid of it burning or something. I don't know. But what he's doing now is not Christian. It's anti-Christian, anti-Christ. It's against what it says in here. Let's just be honest about it. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But let's go on here in the other one, because this is quite important. So I read all through this, and it was just, I was thinking, whoa, this is good. Whoa, that's good. It was just amazing. It says, Jesus cried out and said, "He who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as a light into the world, that whoever believes in me should not abide in darkness." Darkness, what does that mean? People live lives of quiet desperation. In darkness, they suffer. And it's unnecessary. The majority of Americans suffer and die from illnesses. They suffer in their last years from illnesses which are reversible and preventable with healthy living. I've spoken about that in my previous videos because my father was a pioneer in the field of healthy living, and he wrote this book, "In 12 Weeks You Can Control Your High Blood Pressure Without Drugs." And he discovered back in the 1970s that most illnesses are caused by toxic stress overload. And he also made the point back in 1984, when the first version came out, that when we hear about bombings in the Middle East, our stress goes up. So when we're constantly, every day, hearing the news that people are suffering, people are dying, we see out in the street the homeless people, and we know that people are going hungry, and people are calling us saying, I need help, and we can't help them because we're running out of money too. And our leaders are driving up the cost of food so that people's food stamps is running out a week early, and families are going hungry, little kids are going hungry, kids are homeless. Our leaders don't provide free mental health care so that kids that are getting abused in families have somebody to call, and then somebody shows up with a positive help. Like, how can I help you? Instead of, you can only call the police, and they show up to arrest somebody and drag them away in front of you. Just like in Nazi Germany with the secret police. So we live in a police state. We don't live in a humanitarian state. It's disgusting. So I want to challenge you to talk about these deeper issues that are affecting all of us. You've got some fantastic videos that I'm sure empower and enable people all over the world to be more effective and to be better humans, better, spouses, better fathers. You've done a bunch of videos about controlling your temper and having perspective so that you can advise and guide people. Well, that applies to families and parents. You're helping a lot of people. My goal is to get on your channel with a group of celebrities who want to go on a healing journey and talk about how people can heal and get billions of people watching your videos. Every single one of them has extreme value, except questioning this one right here. But you're starting the dialogue, an important dialogue. Why do people just watch murder and mayhem all the time? And then when our leaders go out and kill 100,000 Iranians, like they have in the last couple months, maybe, I don't know if I think it's maybe up that high now, and we just, ignore it like it's a bad movie that we don't want to go to. We don't march in the streets and say this has got to stop. And I think part of the reason is that it's made to be entertaining. They put it on CNN. If they put on the real nitty-gritty, close-up frontline look of little children with their, covered in blood, with their skin burned off, screaming and crying, we'd turn it right off. Right? So that's the answer to your question about why we watch those movies. Because war is made to look entertaining. And that's part of the reason, I suspect, why a lot of people go into the military and into, they go in to serve our country. I don't want to diminish that. But sometimes, when they're being shipped off to war, they never saw the reality of it until they get there. So can we be honest? Can we be fully honest here? It's a critical issue. It's a critical question. You seem like a truth teller and a truth seeker. Is your platform, your YouTube channel, which is a media mechanism protected by the First Amendment, freedom of the press, freedom of speech? Can we be honest on it? Can we have a complete dialogue? Can we leave no stone unturned? Will you have some alternative voices on there? So, nevertheless, even among the rulers, many believed him because of the Pharisees, for they loved the praise of men more than the praise of God. Then Jesus cried out and said, he who believes in me, I have come as a light into the world, that whoever believes in me should not abide in darkness. And if anyone hears my words and does not believe, I do not judge him, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. He who rejects me and does not receive my words has that which judges him. The word that I have spoken will judge him in the last day. For I have not spoken on my own authority, but the Father who sent me gave me a command, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know, and his command is everlasting life. Therefore, whatever I speak, just as the Father has told me, so I speak. And a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, and you have love for one another. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. So that's a secret to happiness. So many people are miserable, turning to drugs, alcohol, all kinds of activities that are unhealthy, nicotine, etc. But there's a saying in here, perfect love casteth out fear. Well, I also figured out it's true. Perfect fear casteth out love. So when we're constantly bombarded by fear, then the love gets extinguished in us. We can't feel it anymore. And then we have to turn to junk food, nicotine, illegal drugs, and alcohol to turn it back on. It's a simple equation which is scientifically proven. All those things turn on dopamine, but so does love. So why do you think we have 50% of marriages end in divorce? People who can't love, it wears off after a while, and they don't feel like they're in love, and they get divorced, and then people get their heart broken. Children have their families torn apart. It's a vicious cycle which has been going on for all of human history, but we can stop it. So that's what I learned from this, is Jesus Christ came here to intervene in the affairs of mankind. Chaplain Barber, who experienced war firsthand, he said in my videos, I filmed 11 hours of video with him in 2003, where I went through all the research I found on health. And he said, war is hell. We got to stop it. And he said, the way we can stop it, let's see. I got it right here. Hold on, I got to find it. So here it is right here. Chaplain Barber, it's going to fade in the light here. Let's see, Chaplain Colonel George Russell Barber. Here's his card. He used to, everywhere he would go, I drove him around about 6 times or so to events and stuff like that. And he would give out the Bibles, and he would give out his business card. And one time we went to this event, and then after the event, we went and picked up his car, and this gentleman went and got his car and drove it up to us. And then Chaplain Barber told him who he was and gave him this card, and the guy looked at it, and it's about the mission that we created together. We called it the mission. I called it the mission. We kind of created together in the 11 hours of video I did with him. And so on the back of the card, it says right here, hope, food, water, health, shelter, education, peace, security, freedom for the world. International Christian Mission Foundation. And so what we talked about in our videos is that if we could share and help people all over the world that are suffering, instead of bombing them. We could, use the $1 trillion we're spending on war every year, use part of that to help people that are suffering and starving to death around the world, that we could end wars by, they'd be saying, "Yay, America. Thank you for helping us." And it would create this contagious goodwill that spreads from person to person, positive emotions. Okay, so this valet looked at the card and he said, "Wait a second, there's something missing here, love." And so Chaplain Barber, soon after, he printed a new card and it says love on there, the whole list there. Okay, so it was kind of an interesting story. Now, Chaplain Barber really hated the Democrats. He was all Republican, and so he was constantly bitching and complaining about them. But then he said, "Well, I don't like Clinton, but I love him." So he struggled with that one. All right, it's the tribalism. Our leaders are constantly fighting, and my brother's on the right, my mom is on the left. Wait, I got it mixed up. And I've heard them dozens and dozens of times arguing and getting pissed off at each other. So it's happening all across America, the discord and arguing. It's disgusting, and it's making us all sick. So it's these realities in the world around us which are causing toxic stress overload. The stress is coming from dozens of different sources. We see our neighbors, we see people in the community suffering. We have to turn a blind eye, but we still feel it. We feel bad about having to turn people down who are in trouble. And this all leads to toxic stress overload, and 50% of Americans have hypertension right now. 50%. That's a pandemic. It's global. 95% of Americans get hypertension as they get older, and that's the root of most physical illness, most mental illness, and violence. So people that are in the worst have gone through the worst experiences. I'm not talking about if you're in war and you're responding to a defensive or you're, carrying out some order that is going to defend your troops. I'm not here to judge people. I'm not here to, question their integrity, that they went to war. That's not what this is about at all. This is about finding a better way and talking about a better way. And if I'm probably doing a half-assed job at that, but I just ask you, please look beyond whatever errors that you find in my dialogue, and hopefully you can find the value there. This is about ending war so that our soldiers don't have to be involved in it anymore. The United States is not about enjoying war. I'm sure you would agree with that. So you were acting like a devil's advocate, I think, but you weren't saying, "I think we should kill people." You're not going around killing anybody. We live in a civilized country. Killing people is not okay. But overseas, that's okay. Why is that? Trump can't drop a bomb here. How come he can drop a bomb over there on a girls' school? That's a contradiction. So our military is about peace, and our leaders have morphed it into that, we're defending ourselves. We got to destroy Iran. We got to attack them. We got to kill all the leaders because they're monsters and they're threatening us and we're in danger. No, we're not in danger. We're all fine. It's a big lie. But let's go on a little bit more here. So the code, that's what you said. In order to be a full human being, you I will take care of my friends and family and treat other people with respect. It's right here. It was right on. So let's see what else you got to say.
So it's a good point. That's the opening, by the way. Men may dream that they do not love war, but nature loves struggle and death. Next, it is in the bloom and fullness of their age, nature dedicates males to death. Yeah.
Okay, nature didn't create mankind. I'd like to assert that. God created mankind. Nature is unintelligent. Nature is a cycle of cellular growth and the winds and the rain, but there's no intelligence there. It's just, doing what it was programmed to do. Human beings and nature seem to be created by intelligent design. One thing that'll prove it is humans or animals or plants and everything, they go through a cycle of life and then they die and they break down, but they can't just spontaneously arise out of nothing. A rock can't become a lizard. The only life there is something that was already designed and put in motion. Somebody intelligent had to put all those little genes in a perfect sequence, and the genes in humans couldn't have come together out of rocks and, all the different elements. It's totally impossible because of, one of the laws of nature. It's that things become disorganized. They don't come together in a Picasso painting. An intelligent human had to paint a Picasso painting. It didn't just, we've never seen in all of our lives, we've never seen a beautiful painting come together just accidentally. And it's the same thing with all the animals and all the plants. They could not have just spontaneously come together and then create life. So it's just pure logic. So nature didn't design humans, God designed humans. So why are we turning to death and murder? Well, it says right in here that God created man to be peaceful and loving, and then sin happened and entered into him and warped his mind, made him dead, made him hard-hearted, unable to feel for others. And so Jesus Christ, according to the words in here, came here to heal mankind, to return us to our true nature, to free us from sin. So maybe you haven't explored these ideas yet. I want to invite you to explore them. They're amazing. They're amazing. And they're right in alignment with who you are and how you are and all the message in your channel. So I held up this book here. Colonel Dave Grossman, he wrote this book here over 20 years ago. I attended one of his events, and what he says in here is that the television and all that is media violence is causing us to glamorize war. And again, I don't want to diminish anybody's service to our country. I really appreciate it. But we have to look at the big picture. Again, the United States was created to be a just country, justice. The Constitution is about taking care of the people, safety, happiness, a guarantee of freedom and happiness, if we don't extend that to the whole world and stand up for the injustices, then our Constitution becomes invalid. It can't just be for us, and then for everybody else, it's kill, 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 murder, and mayhem. So I think, you took an oath to stand up for the Constitution. Well, I think that extends to standing up to our leaders when they're ignoring our Constitution and when they're engaging the military in a just war. That's what part of being a hero is you don't let our leaders turn you into a tool of injustice. And I'm sure you agree with that. Now, whether or not the Iraq War and the war in Afghanistan was a just war, or I'm not going to talk about that here. That's a conversation for another day. My goal and my role, and I don't feel that's that would not be fair. That's not what I'm about, is judging people. I've sinned myself. I've hurt people from time to time. I've tried to, when I did it, I tried to not do it again and improve myself. But, it says in there that we've all sinned, and that before we judge other people, we ought to look at ourselves and judge ourselves. Leave it to them to judge themselves and straighten themselves out. That's what we should all be doing. So, but I just want to put a spotlight on here because that's what Jesus asked us to do. What it says in here is, share the truth here so that we can share the truth which can free all of us. For brethren, you have been called to liberty. Have I therefore become the enemy because I tell you the truth? We have been called to liberty, only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you be consumed by one another. Live by the sword, die by the sword. You're saying, as the devil's advocate, you're saying, we love war, man was made to kill. Well, do you want that to be happening to your family? No. Do you want it to be happening to your neighbor right next door? No. Do you want it to be happening in your city? No. So how do you like them apples? I'm enjoying this debate. So, let's get on me on your channel, dude. All right? You're not scared of me, right? You're an MMA fighter. You're not scared of anything. But don't be scared of ideas. Open it up. Free Willy. Let's have a full discussion on your YouTube channel. It's going to be so interesting. You're going to get billions of views, I guarantee you. I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. This is from Galatians 5 and 6. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and they are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. So what he means by the flesh is our animal nature. So you said it in this video further on that when we assess each other with our instinct. George Soros wrote it right after 9/11 in one of his books. He wrote that an event like 9/11 traumatizes everybody, meaning everybody across the world, across the United States, people who saw it, people who heard about it. And it causes a disconnection between their instinct their reptilian nature, and their intellect. So, yeah, in that state of mind, yeah, we love war. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I'm enjoying this. Kill, kill, kill. You know, the spirit of the United States military, in my view, is not that we enjoy war, we enjoy killing. We only do it defensively. We don't just attack and kill a bunch of people because it's fun. And, you know, I don't think you're saying that. I think you're saying what you read and you're smiling about it, okay? So, but you don't enjoy those things either. I'm sure you didn't enjoy war. Correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't enjoy being there. You didn't enjoy having your friends die. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousy, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies. Selfish ambitions. Kill a bunch of Iranians, you know, and instead of like looking how to make sure everybody wins. Blessed are the peacemakers. That was from the Sermon on the Mount by Jesus. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So this is all about God's plan for the world. So, you know, maybe you haven't given a lot of thought about God. 25 years ago, I didn't even know God existed. I didn't know what Christmas was about. I didn't know what Jesus was about. Christmas was just about gifts. I had no idea that Christmas means Christ. It's right in there. I'm sure you celebrate Christmas. But after I met Chaplain Barber, I had a real awakening. And I said, whoa, okay, there's some kind of intelligent thing out there which created everything. It was like, whoa, it blew my mind. And then I read this, and I've been getting communications. So anybody can communicate with God. It's this very interesting thing. I'm sure you are communicating with God, and you might not even know it. So God has the ability to put ideas in our mind. So I suspect that a bunch of your ideas are coming from God, and you're being talked to. You may not even know it. Think about it. It's a very interesting thing. You can be led to all kinds of amazing discoveries, like I have been. Starlight, the most important invention of all time, which could save lives all over the world by protecting homes from burning down with a thin coating of paint. I'm gonna make a lot of money someday on it also. I've been struggling up until now, but things like that. Once you start communicating with God, you can get led, and you can get all kinds of amazing ideas. It's very subtle though. You might not even know it. Just an idea pops into your head, and you think, oh, well, you know, it's just my own brain. No, often God puts ideas in your head that are really good. And I'm telling you, you got so many good ideas in your show that it's coming from God. I'm telling you that. It's my opinion. So it's like this. When I found all these incredible ideas, I thought, whoa, this obviously came from God, because humans don't have this many good ideas in their books. You know, look at all the sticky notes, and I got highlights and hundreds of pages in here. Dots and stars. It's just really valuable stuff. So, now the works of flesh are evident. Let me continue. I read part of them, but number 21, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, in which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in the time past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Now, this isn't about condemning people and making them feel bad because they were stuck in war or because they were trying to serve our country and do a good thing. Some of our wars stopped really bad people. I agree with that. So there may be an exception. I'm not about saying everybody who went to war was a bad person. No, that's not what this is about. This is about finding a better way. So very likely that Hitler would have gone on to kill a lot of people. So stopping him was most likely God's plan. I'm not God, and I don't have that direct of a communication line. And 9/11, I'm not privy to, God's book, which says everybody who went to war after 9/11 was doing a devil's work. No, that's not what this is about. It's about God wants us to find the better way. So the Japanese were out of control. The rape of Nanking. They were committing atrocities. They took over Hong Kong and they killed hundreds of thousands and tortured them. Rape camps, etc. Bruce Lee was an infant during that time period, and as an adult, he had anxiety and depression that he was struggling with. That's why he took a drug that was for depression that some actor gave him, and then he had a bad reaction and died. I was in 6th grade with Brandon Lee, his son, right after his father died. I've got the yearbook right here. And he was very depressed. My brother was 2 years older than me, and he said he, got to be friends with Brandon a little bit, but they couldn't hang out because of what had happened. So, we're not made for death and destruction. We can see it. It's traumatic. All the evidence says it's traumatic. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such these there is no law. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. So that's how you live. That's how you talk. That's what your videos are about. They're about helping people. You are helping a lot of people, and you could help a lot more. I got a plan to get billions of people to watch your videos. Taylor Swift and a bunch of musicians have had 2 billion views on their videos. I got some connections to Taylor Swift and her friends. They're all super depressed. And very soon I'm going to be inviting them to go on your channel and talk about healing and finding the healing for themselves and for the veterans who are killing themselves 22 a day, dying from addictions and over-drugging by the VA, another 20 or more a day. It's just not right. I'm sure you're against that, but you haven't talked about it very much on your channel. And I want to challenge you to do that. Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the laws of Christ. So our leaders are not doing that. They could try to go to the Iranians and say, hey guys, I'm Christian, and I just want to let you know that we'd like for you to stop with the murder and mayhem of your own citizens, because you're locking them up and torturing them. And we want to make peace with you. We've been at war with the Iranian people and their leaders for 40 years. How long? 1970s? 50 years. So let me interject. First of all, let me interject. I just got in a upset with the local judge here today, and I didn't do what it says right here. So I'm just realizing it. Let me correct myself, and I'm going to send a message to him explaining that I was off. So he was arguing with me about some of the things I was saying and disputing them, and he said I shouldn't be sharing them at the veterans meeting because post-traumatic stress is not curable, according to him. But I'm hearing like half the veterans there are looking for the cure and looking for healing. And so I was, debating him with in person and on text messages. And we were going to get together on Monday. And I sent him a message saying, you're a judge and you took an oath to the Constitution with free speech. Please don't try to block my free speech. And he got really pissed off and, then really pissed off. Okay, so, I was probably too judgmental. So I'm going to have to do something about that. But, my point is here that that's what our leaders need to do. And so I want to go on your channel and challenge our leaders to find a better way. I don't want to condemn them. I want to just say, Mr. Trump, I want to share with you about Jesus Christ. He came here 2,000 years ago, and he was willing to stand up for the truth and share it, even though they crucified him because he was speaking out. And so the people that were there, they were so inspired by what they saw and what they heard that the 12 disciples, then they became loud, vocal proponents of what Jesus Christ came here to share. And it spread to 1 billion people all over the world. So it's something to take seriously. And it has magical powers. Magical powers. The ideas in here can move mountains. Watch me. So participate with me. You're going to see. Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the laws of Christ. For if anyone thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one examine his own work, and then he will have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. Let him who is taught the word share in all good things which with him who teaches. That's what I'm trying to do with you. Let him who is taught the word share in all good things with him who teaches. It's worth repeating. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. What my dad found and what all the researchers on post-traumatic stress found is that these traumatic experiences, they lead to ourselves getting sick, physical illness, depression, etc., unless we clear it out. And so that's what Jesus Christ shared a way to do. Jesus Christ said, if we sinned, we are forgiven. So that's what this is about. If you realize you sinned, as quick as you realize it, you can let it go and you can heal. It's not about feeling guilty. Guilt is something it comes up because our inner nature is to be good. And when we're off mark, then we feel guilty, we feel bad. But God doesn't want us to feel guilty. He wants us to stop doing things that are contrary to our nature and help each other out. So exactly what's in your book, help out your neighbor, lift people up, defend the little guy, those who can't defend themselves. That's how to live at peace and to feel good about ourselves. So it's right on. We need to share that with the whole world because it can heal the world. So that's what he said. And you go on with a lot of great ideas. Let's see if there's a few more here.
Yeah. Which is why why is the insurance rates for an 18-year-old boy very high for a vehicle? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is dedicated to death. Like, that's what he's doing. He's pushing the envelope. Nature creates species. It does not create beings. The species is the end. The being is only the servant of that end. It is the nature of the individual to be deluded about his destiny and to create beings. The species is the end. The being is only the servant of that end. It is the nature of the individual to be deluded about his destiny and to believe he was born for himself. So he's saying your whole purpose is not for you. It's for the species.
Mm-hmm.
He says man places, he's got a bunch of footnotes. The footnote for this one is man places value on his existence. Nature does not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
Nature doesn't care.
Yeah. The rock outside, the bear, in the forest. Yeah, they don't care about us. But God does care about us. God wants us to win. God is like a parent. You want your kids to win, right? You don't want your kids to suffer. You don't want your kids to die in war. You don't want your kids to have to kill. Having to kill is, having to go to war. You went to wars. People went to war and they defended America and they made peace. For example, in Germany ended up being at peace afterwards. Japan also. The leaders in Japan were driving the military to go out and do the rape of Nanking, the massive atrocities, and I read them in detail. And they were going batshit crazy. So the United States, the military, stood up against that. And whether or not we had to drop the bomb, I'm not sure about that. I've heard that, somebody made the point that we could have warned them. We could have dropped a bomb right off, Japan so that they could see it and know the next one's landing on you. We could have, after we dropped one bomb, we could have given them a week to see what happened and say the next one's landing on Tokyo. Okay, somebody made that point. And I can't know that, but we can only wonder. But right now our leaders are not making a massive effort to make peace. They are really trying hard to kill, kill, kill. And it's really not right. And it's only because we're not seeing it. If we could see it and really hear the crying kids and the crying parents and see them, in pain and with their limbs blown off and have a camera right in the hospitals, we would be disgusted and we would be demanding that they stop. But they're not going to show us that because then they wouldn't be able to raise the military budget to $1.5 trillion now. But, we ought to talk about those things. You're a truth seeker. Let's go on your channel and let's tell the truth. You're not scared of the truth. I know you're not scared of the truth. So let's do it. Let's do it. We could change the world. We could be the peacemakers. We could show our leaders a better way. You know, we could say to our leaders, hey guys, we'd like a vote. We're American citizens. The Constitution says we can speak up and say what we think about this. And the inability to do that, they're not having alternative voices in the media because the people that own all the, you know, military industrial complex, Boeing, etc., they own all the media organizations. So I'm hoping that your media organization, which has 2 million followers and probably another couple million viewers, is going to be the only free press organization where you can have the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And you're not going to discriminate against people that want to talk about how to have global healing and peace. I got some really interesting ideas on that. In 2010, I made a phone call to Munib al-Masri. He's living in Palestine. He's a billionaire. He's in his 80s now. He's almost 90. In 2010, he was talking about that he just built a big palace there. And he was talking about how he wanted to have conferences with people around the world about how to have peace in the Middle East. And so he graduated from UT Austin here. And so I was in Austin by that time, and I called him on the phone, talked to him multiple times. And I said, I'm an American calling from Austin, and I want to participate in conferences with you about peace. And I wrote about a 10-page letter with a peace plan. I wrote it to the Palestinian people, and I wrote, Dear Palestinian people, we are also frustrated with our leaders here in America. Millions of kids are going hungry and suffering, just like your people are suffering. And let me just say that the people in Israel are suffering also. So I'm equally concerned about them. And so I wrote this peace plan. I said, we're frustrated by our leaders. Let's talk about how we can circumvent their constant war making, which their war making is affecting the health of all Americans. So, and then if we make peace with our enemies, then we can direct some of the $1.5 trillion that we're spending on our military. We can spend some of it on helping people around the world to heal their communities. And that can end war. Let me say something about Iran, though. But first back to Israel. So the only person we ever hear from Israel is Netanyahu. That's the only person. He is the face of Israel. We don't hear from the average person there and how do they feel about how things are going. So Netanyahu, he says he's for peace and he's defending Israel. Well, I don't want to judge him. I just want to talk to him about there's a better way. And one of his main competitors contending for the office of the leadership is Bennett. His last name is Bennett. He's an American, and I don't know. He may be related to me. I don't know. But we haven't heard from him yet. So I'd like to hear from him, and I'd like to hear from some alternative voices over there. Maybe we could have them on your show. But back to Iran, I had a friend who was in the CIA under JFK, and his name was Erwin Pardue, and I got his book right around here. Let me see if I have it handy. No, I do not. Hold on, let me find it. Here it is right here. So Irwin Pardue and Associates. He was in the CIA under JFK. He was the CIA liaison to JFK. Here's his address there. I got spilled coffee on it or something. Anyway, Edgemont Avenue. I used to go visit him there in Los Angeles. I met him in the 1980s, and then I got to know him over the next 20 years until he died around 2003. And he told me a bunch of things that he experienced. So I'm going to go through them. So you're a truth seeker, right? I mean, that's part of being, in my mind, that's part of being a hero, part of being part of the spirit of the United States military is to be fully truthful about and want to understand the reality of your situation. So I don't know if this is going to be good news or bad news. Actually, the truth always is good news. And that's an idea that's in the Bible. The truth shall make you free. So the truth can always be turned to your advantage, and lies will usually cause problems. So Irwin was the CIA liaison under JFK. I've got a recording of him saying one of the reasons why they killed him was because of the Bay of Pigs. That was one of the things that he was upset with. And then he also told me that around 1969, I believe, partway through the war, he went over to Vietnam and then brought back a peace agreement that could have created peace. But the generals told him, we can't go with that because it'll ruin our economy. That's what he said. Now, we're finding out recently that Nixon interfered with President Johnson's attempt to make peace. That was in 1969. And because the Democrats were running against the Republicans, and Nixon got involved in thwarting the peace talks so that he could win the election. That's come out recently. So I believe that was the peace agreement that my friend Irwin brought back. Let's see, what else? Around 2000, he was, I got to know him, I still knew him, and he was prostituting women. That was his post-CIA career. He had maybe 10 women, and he was prostituting them to really rich people and to princes in the Middle East. One time he invited me to a strip club. It was the first time I'd ever gone. And we were sitting around, and this beautiful young lady sat down with us, and he said, I could get you $1 million if you go over to the Middle East to do dancing and stripping. And I said, what? No way. He's joking. I was in shock, and I was a little pissed off. So I hope she didn't go. I know that it would have, we know what they do over there. It would have been torture and abuse, most likely. So he introduced me to one of his friends. Her name was Judy Lira. She lived up in the Hollywood Hills in a really beautiful house. And I used to go over there and hang out with her. And she had these pictures of princes, of her with the Saudi Arabia princes. And her daughter later told me that she was friends with the Sadari Seven, which is the princes right under the king. Then Erwin told me that at some point he met Osama bin Laden at her house. So years later, Osama bin Laden's widow wrote her autobiography, and she wrote that she came to the United States with bin Laden in 1979, and then he flew to Los Angeles. So I suspect that's when the CIA recruited bin Laden for their war in Afghanistan. Let's see, what else did he tell me? He introduced me to, well, after he died, his brother, who's still alive, an attorney, his brother introduced me to Hamdi, who was a friend of Erwin's, and Hamdi used to work for the King Hussein in Jordan, and Hamdi told me he had a 5,000-page autobiography of everything he witnessed in the Middle East. And he told me that Saddam Hussein went to Jordan, where he was trained by the CIA before he launched the war against Iran, in which the United States supplied chemical weapons that they used on the people. And a friend of mine was a witness to the victims when they were flown over to Austria, a friend of mine. He also told me that the CIA was involved in the Iranians taking over the American embassy and holding the hostages for a year. And now we later learned that, we have recently learned that because Carter fired hundreds of CIA agents after he took office because of their corruption and wrongdoing, and that was probably my friend Erwin was involved in that they got involved with the Iranians who took over the embassy in order to make Carter look bad. And this has also come out in the news recently, that the Reagan administration team was involved in delaying the release of the hostages so that Carter would look bad, and then they could get elected, and Carter lost. So I learned that from Erwin's friend. Let's see, after 9/11, let's see. Well, first of all, Erwin was prostituting women, and I'd go over to his house, and he'd brag to me, "Oh yeah, I got these women working for me." And one time he invited me to an event with a bunch of rich people, and he said, "It's going to be a bunch of rich men, and we're going to have really nice women there." And he invited me, and I said, "I don't think I'll feel comfortable." So he knew that I disapproved of what he was doing, and I didn't really like it. But at one point he got really sick, and he was going to die. And I went and visited him a few times, and I gave him my dad's book because high blood sugar was part of the reason he was really sick. And he read my dad's book, and he started getting better, and he became Christian, and he started he stopped doing the prostituting, and he started holding classes on Bible study with some of the women he had been prostituting. So I believe that I helped heal him, and what's in the Bible. He may have had some supernatural experience. I don't know the full story, but he gave up his criminal activity of prostituting women. It's a very interesting story. So after 9/11, I kept going up and visiting him. One day I showed up at his house and he said, George Bush was just here recently in a limousine and he wanted to talk to me. I think he told him they talked about Osama bin Laden since Irwin was recruiting him. I also learned a little bit about, he mentioned that we were invading Afghanistan because somebody wanted to build a pipeline for oil. Let's see. I don't think he said anything about bin Laden working for the CIA when, the World Trade Center, there's some whistleblowers or I don't know if it's just a theorizing, but some people are saying that our own government was behind 9/11 and that the planes were fake. I don't have, a huge amount of knowledge on that. I thought the planes looked a little fake in the videos, but I'm not really going to comment much on that. But I believe the whole truth is going to come out real soon. Let's see. So he wrote this book. He published this book. After he gave up prostituting women, he started publishing books, and this was one of them. So that's part of what I know from that. But our leaders have a problem. They say they're Christian, but they're cutting off millions of kids for their food. They're driving up the price of oil, which is making kids and families go hungry. They refuse to provide free mental health care. So, they cry about child abuse. They act like they're against it, but then there's no free mental health care in all the schools so that kids have somebody to turn to, that a trained psychologist who could come in and help heal their family. In my own family, we've been having some problems, and I've, over the last 20 years, numerous times searching around for psychologists, and they're hard to find. And the ones you find are really inadequately trained, and some of them are quite batshit crazy because they got their own garbage from their own childhood, and they got their own family problems, and there's no screening. They don't screen people out that are applying for getting a degree in counseling, and they don't screen people out and say, you got to fix your own family, dude, if you want to go counsel other people about how to get healthy. So that's the big secret. But what I want to do on the Jocko Willink channel is have the top experts on mental health who created the concept of post-traumatic stress go on there and share what's the cure, which could go out to the whole world. So I'll just go through this briefly before I finish up. What is the cure for post-traumatic stress? According to Dr. Charles Figley and Bessel van der Kolk, who created the concept, along with Shad Mishad. So, number one, learning all about it. Surprise, surprise. Car can't fix itself by reading its own manual, but human beings can learn all about how to heal themselves, and then they can take action. So in order to heal post-traumatic stress, in order to get healthy and reverse like high blood pressure or lose weight, etc., you need to learn how your body works, learn how your emergency nervous system works, identify what's bothering you, talk about it, and you got to have therapeutic people to talk to. So Dr. Figley's idea is teach the whole family about healing so that you don't have to pay a counselor $300 an hour once or twice a week. No, you got empathetic, helpful, listening people all around you. So that's the cure for the veterans, is teach the whole family how to heal, and then together they come up with and they create a healing theory, is what Dr. Figley calls it, a healing plan. so that over time, the whole family can take steps to help each other heal. Quite simple, very simple. But we haven't heard from Dr. Figley, Bessel van der Kolk, Shad Mishad, and their colleagues in 40 years, 20, 45 years since they created the concept back in the 1980s. Surprise, surprise. Why have we never heard from them? You know, why has nobody ever heard about Starlight, the most important invention of all time that I've been working on for 30 years? It was news all over the world in the 1990s, and then the news organizations won't report. I've contacted them dozens of times. Hell no, they won't do it. I only got on the news once, Fresno Public Radio. They did a story, and I said 7 years ago, I think, that the only way that Starlight's going to become available is if we get in the news or we get on the Jocko Willink podcast, and then we can protect all those homes from burning down. So I'm asking you guys, have a heart. Please, help me out. All we got to do is communicate. Jocko Leif Babin's father is the head of the committee that oversees NASA and Boeing and aviation safety. People are dying. We could stop this, please. People are dying. No more delays. Okay, I got Leif Babin's address, home address. I'm thinking about going by there and knocking on his door. I don't want to piss him off, okay? Because he'll give me stern looks and maybe a shout down, maybe a stern lecture, okay? But I don't want to piss him off. But, you know, I've been sending him messages and he's sending me receipts. He got the message, but we got to get this show on the road, guys. Things are looking real bad. My friend who knows President Trump's sons, he told me that our bombers are all loaded up with nuclear bombs and that they're ready for something big. He sent President Trump's sons my proposal multiple times a few years ago. The one that's about the video of Biden and Obama in a video where they talk about millions of seniors are getting poisoned with 16 drugs and bad combinations. He didn't want to do anything about it. So we don't want to destroy them. We want to heal them. So bottom line of this is this about our leaders. What I found out, I got multiple books on the subject. Our leaders have a hard heart, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. They have hardening of the heart. Too long a sacrifice maketh a stone of the heart. Hurt people hurt people. It says right in here, sin enters in you and you die. You die spiritually. So there's a cure, and Jesus Christ came here to cure the whole world, to heal the whole world, the sinner and the saint. And so that's what we want to talk about. We just want to talk. We just want to talk. You're not allergic to ideas. I know it. So I'm not coming down on you because you've been delaying this for over a year now. I've been begging and pleading you and sending you all these messages. I think it's part of God's plan that to line up all the dominoes. You know, have you ever seen those? They have an auditorium full of 100,000 dominoes, and then they knock one down and dink, 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 dink. You know, that's what I think God's plan is. We're going to share the truth, and we're going to heal the world. Isn't it worth trying? Just coming together on that little channel, comfortably, and having a little talk. Who would be against that? Who is against the ideas that I'm sharing? Please, I want to find out, what do you not like about them? Leif Babin, we're going to help your dad. He's controlled by special interests, and he can't do the right thing, even if he wanted to. So we're going to share with him, and we're going to support him in doing the right thing. We're going to create a Starlight Project at UT Austin and UCLA, where I already have professors there that have agreed to participate. And we're going to expedite solutions that can protect all the homes. Homes are burning down and people are burning to death all over the world. It's a nightmare. And we have the power to stop it just by getting together to talk. Thank you for listening.